So let's go ahead and begin that process. Just like when we were using the solvent, we're going to be using clean, dry patches through our patch rod, our cleaning rod, and we're going to apply just a couple, one or two drops of our quality gun oil to our patch. And the reason we're going to be applying it to our patch is we're going to actually lubricate and run gun oil down the barrel of the weapon to lubricate the barrel of the weapon. This prevents rust and debris and all of that from pitting the inside of the barrel. So we're going to do that a couple of times. It's just going to be a light coat. If you want afterward, you can always go ahead and run another patch through to dry it out a little bit. Then you're going to apply just drops of oil to various parts of the weapon for lubrication, paying special attention to moving parts. In this case, we're taking care of all the exterior parts and the cocking mechanism. And we're going to make sure all of that gets a good coat of lubrication. Once the lubrication's been applied, we're simply going to wipe off the gun oil, leaving a light coat of lubrication throughout the entire weapon. Again, pay special attention to any mechanisms. Make sure that they get a good coating of oil. And now is the perfect time to stop. Look at all your parts, inventory your parts, and go ahead and apply a light coating of oil to all but the hand grips. Now it's actually time to begin reassembly of the JA380. And we're going to begin with the left side of the weapon. If you have removed the safety spring, now is the time to replace it. Go ahead and lay it in the groove and secure it using your thumbs. Next, we're going to go ahead and work with the safety lever. This is the safety selector. It simply fits into the groove, place it in there, and secure it. It's just going to sit there while we get ready to apply the left grip. Alright, you're going to go ahead and hold down the safety spring and apply the left pistol grip. Then you're going to take the very small pistol grip screw, seat it, and you're going to go ahead and tighten the screw until it's fairly tight. You don't need to tighten it down all the way because you don't want to crack the grip. And now it's going to be time to simply put on the right pistol grip. The right pistol grip, as you recall, was very easy to take off, so it's just a matter of applying it to the side of the weapon, ensuring that the screw is lined up, and tightening the screw with a screwdriver. Once again, do not over tighten this screw. You do not want to crack the right pistol grip. Alright, now that we have the grips on, it's time to start putting together the internal parts of the weapon. And we're going to start with the trigger control spring. And this is a very small spring. In fact, it's the smallest part. And it simply goes into this hole at the top of the assembly. Next, we have a very fun part. This is actually the trigger lever itself. And as you recall, this is another very small part. This will sit on top of the trigger spring, and I call your attention to the placement of that particular lever. It will be placed on top of the trigger spring so that the angle is facing forward. And here is a close-up view. If it's not facing forward, this weapon will not fire or cock. Next, we'll be working with the cocking lever tab. This is another small part, and it is the third and final part of the cocking lever assembly. Here in this photo, you will see a close-up on the right side of the weapon of how it's to be placed. And I'll move in even closer so that you can orient yourself with how this will be placed on the right side of the weapon. Alright, so now let's actually place this on the weapon. As you can see by comparison, it's very small, and we're going to be attaching this to our cocking lever. Remember, you push down on it with tension, so you're going to need to do that again. Hold it down as you apply the cocking lever tab to the right side of the weapon. Remember its orientation. You'll see that it lines up a certain way, and once you get it lined up, just push down on the cocking lever until it clicks. You'll hear that audible click. So once again, here is the proper placement of the cocking lever tab. I don't think that you can put it in any other way. And now it's very simple. Your last step for the lower receiver is to attach the mainspring to the lower receiver. It's very simple. It slides underneath the barrel in the groove and remains there until the two are mated. Alright, with the placement of the mainspring, you're ready to move on and finish up by assembling the portions and parts of the upper receiver, which include the firing pin spring, and the takedown pin. Here you can see them separate. Simply slide the pieces together. When finished, they will look like this and ready to be inserted into the upper receiver. The next step is very simple. Take your upper receiver in one hand and go ahead and slide, firing pin first, the entire assembly into the upper slide, the upper receiver. Alright, now that you've completed assembling the components for both the upper and the lower receiver, it's time to mate the two together. Being cautious of the mainspring, go ahead and slide the barrel on, and you'll see that all you need to do now is depress the takedown pin so that the upper receiver and the lower receiver are joined together. This will automatically lock in place with an audible click, and you now have completed reassembly of the weapon. Now that you've reassembled the weapon and all the components are in place, simply take a rag and wipe off all the excess oil and dirt from the cleaning process. So let's go ahead and review the clearing procedures for the weapon. You'll notice that it may be cocked, and you're going to go ahead and check and make sure there's no magazine in the weapon. And you're going to rack the slide back, make sure that it has no brass in the event that someone loaded it while you were away from the weapon. And you're going to actually visually inspect the chamber after sliding the slide back and make sure that there's no brass present. At this time, the weapon is safe for its function check. You're now ready to function check the weapon to determine that it will operate when needed. So now we're going to go ahead and look at the cocking indicator so that you can become familiar with it. After you typically clean the weapon, you'll see that the cocking indicator at the rear of the weapon shows no red. In other words, the weapon is not cocked. In the next frame, you'll see the cocking indicator is cocked, showing the red cocking indicator. Remember that just because a weapon shows cocked does not mean that the weapon is loaded. So as we review the process, we'll go ahead one more time, visually inspect the chamber, make sure that there's no brass, and then we will go ahead and slide the rack all the way back and cock the weapon, showing the lit cocking indicator. This means that the weapon is now cocked. Now that you have function checked the weapon and you have a reasonable assurance that it will work, it's time to load it. Insert a magazine, slide the rack back firmly so that the cocking indicator shows that the weapon is cocked, and this weapon is now loaded. Turn the weapon over, keeping your finger away from the trigger, and place the weapon on safe. It is now ready to be holstered. It's very important as you holster the weapon to make sure that you keep your finger off the trigger, and as you strap it down, be very careful. And also, you'll notice as you strap the weapon down that the red cocking indicator is lit. So the final step is to go ahead and conceal, in accordance with your local law, your JA380. As we close this instructional video, we hope that you found it useful. Again, much of the language here was not in the typical gun jargon, but was meant for the weapon novice or the new owner. The JA380 is an inexpensive weapon, but if treated and maintained properly, it should provide you years of use and personal safety. Thanks for watching.